Hey guys, it's Arcade and I'm back with another tutorial. And in this one, I'm gonna show you 5 tips and creative ways to use reverb. So reverb is like one of the most used effects when it comes to creating music. So this will definitely be useful for you. Also, this video is sponsored by Plugin Boutique and they gave me a new plugin from Isotope called Neoverb. So I'm gonna be using that reverb to show these examples. But don't worry, most of the things you can do with your normal FL Studio reverb as well. But Neoverb has some extra features and it is a bit easier to work with. So let's get to tip number 1, which is Reverb Ducking. So I have a little example song prepared here and I'm gonna show you how to do this effect. So let's preview it.
There's nothing quite like falling in love, the beat in my heart, the shake in my lungs, gives me a reason, keeps me excited, something to believe in.
So I just have this dry vocal in here. And what we're gonna do is use reverb ducking. So basically every time the vocal is playing, there will be less reverb. And when it's not playing, the reverb will come back. So let's do that. It's really simple. And I'm gonna use peak controller to do this. So first step, let's go to our vocal, which is on track 7, mixer track 7. So let's select it and route it to track 8 or any other track. I'm gonna do track 8 and we're gonna put all the effects on the track number 8. The first thing we want is peak controller. And some people are a bit afraid of peak controller for some reason, because they think it is hard to use, but it's actually really simple to use. So let's put in pretty peak controller. And here it is. It actually has a new design. And when you play the vocal, you will see all these lines.
There's nothing quite like falling in love, the beat in my...
And this is good. So you can change these with volume. And this is exactly what you want.
In love, the beat in my heart.
Every time the vocal is playing, the lines are higher, and when it's not, the lines are lower. So that's what you want, and you can adjust it with the volume knob.
There's nothing quite like falling in love.
So you don't want this,
the beat in my heart, the shake in my lungs,
or you don't want like this either. You want something in between.
There's nothing quite like falling in love, the shake in my lungs gives me...
Okay, something like this. Now that we have that, we can leave peak controller alone for now. And let's put in Neoverb on our track 8. So this is Neoverb, the plugin I was talking about. And it has a lot of cool features that other reverbs don't have, like the Reverb Assistant, which will sort of let you decide what type of reverb you want. And then it uses AI to like improve the reverb as well. But I'm not gonna use this for this example. Instead, I wanna use one of the many presets that are here. So let's check them out.
There's nothing quite like falling in love, the beat in my...
So you have a lot of creative reverbs, like this one, and it's sort of unusual, which I like.
There's nothing quite like falling in love. There's nothing quite like falling in love, the beat in my heart, the shake in my lungs.
Okay, we could go with this one, that has a lot of reverb, but since we are using the peak controller method, it's actually, the vocal is gonna be pretty clean. So as you can see right now, the vocal is sort of fades away in itself because of a lot of reverb.
There's nothing quite like falling in love.
So how we're gonna improve that is with the peak controller. So every time the vocal is playing, the reverb is gonna be lowered, and every time the vocal is not playing, the reverb is gonna come back up. So the way we're gonna do that is automate the dry wet knob in FL Studio. That's the easiest way. Just right click it and choose linked controller. And here, find your peak controller from insert 8. You can see it here. And just choose peak. And for input, do inverted. That means every time this line here in peak controller is high, the dry wet knob will gonna be low. And then click accept. And there you have it. That's our effect ready to go. Let's test it out.
There's nothing quite like falling in love, the beat in my heart, the shake in my lungs, gives me a reason, keeps me excited, something to believe in.
Right off the bat, the vocal is way cleaner and the reverb is really nice. So we can change that a little bit.
There's nothing quite like falling in love, the beat in my heart, the shake in my lungs, gives me a reason, keeps me excited, something to believe in.
You know, we can adjust it as we please. And let's compare it with no peak controller.
There's nothing quite like falling in love, the beat in my heart.
The vocal is sort of like diffused or whatever. And with peak controller,
there's nothing quite like falling in love. There's nothing quite like falling in love.
We can do a more extreme reverb just to like show you exactly what the effect does, but let's hear it with the rest of the sounds.
There's nothing quite like falling in love. The beat in my heart, the shake in my lungs, gives me a reason, keeps me excited, something to believe in.
Okay, now let's try out like a super large reverb.
Something to believe in. There's nothing quite like falling in love. The beat in my heart.
For example, that, and with the beat controller.
There's nothing quite like falling in love. The beat in my heart, the shake in my lungs, gives me a reason, keeps me excited, something to believe in.
Yeah, really nice. Without it, it would be like a total reverby mess.
There's nothing quite like falling in love.
Which for some uses is good, but if you wanna clean vocal in the song, it's not. So yeah, that's the ducking effect. Works really well with vocals, but also leads, which I'm gonna show you an example of right now. So this is my UK hardcore track. I use the same exact technique with through the controller. If we don't have it, the reverb sounds like this. So the notes go one into another, but if we have it, it sounds like this. And here's another example for this sound. So without it, it's like this. And with peak controller. So yeah, let me play it in the song so you can hear it better. Okay, let's move to another example, which is reverb reverse effect. So I'm gonna use the same song as before, same example.
There's nothing quite like
with the vocal, and I'm gonna show you a little reverse effect trick that you can use that's really cool and it's like a good way to transition into vocals. So what we're gonna do is make this unique, the vocal, and put it on a new track and sort of like only have the beginning of the vocal.
there's nothing. There's
Like this, you know?
there's
So that's what we want. And then I'm gonna put Neoverb on it and put like a huge reverb on it as well. So let's check out some of them.
there's
So like this one, and maybe like even beef it up. So we have mostly just reverb. Okay, let's have that. Now hold Control and select your timeline like this. And we're gonna go to Edison, change it to on play, hit record and play the sound. Okay, now stop it. Double click song jump number 2, just delete it by clicking delete, and we can just move this in here. And we have our reverb recorded. And now we can just reverse it. And we're gonna have this reversed vocal transition. Put it right before the actual vocal. And let's check it out.
There's nothing quite like.
And right there, it's a pretty cool effect. Works really well when you want to introduce the vocal the first time or something like that. We can move it a little bit so it fits better.
There's nothing quite like falling in love.
Right there, a really cool reverb effect that you can use in most of your tracks. And you can do this with piano or leads as well, but works pretty well with vocals too.
There's nothing quite like falling in love.
What I like to do is put reverb on the reversed vocal as well. So we can do that too, just the same one as before.
There's nothing quite like falling in love. The beat in my heart, the shake in my lungs,
Okay, really nice effect, really simple to make, using just reverb. As I said, I'm using Neoverb here, but you can use your regular FL Studio reverb as well for these effects. But the next one I'm gonna show you is actually only possible with Neoverb. So let's get to that one. So this will be tip number 3, which is the AI reverb. So I have a little dry song here with a bunch of sounds, but none of them have reverb on them. So yeah, a pretty dry sounding song. So let's make these sounds wet. So I'm gonna start with the guitar. Let me show you what can Neoverb do as far as the AI goes. So I'm just gonna drag it on the guitar and go to Reverb Assistant and make sure we sort of repeat the song while we do this. And as you can see, it sort of helps you create the reverb for you. So you can decide whether you want more dramatic reverb or realistic. You can decide the size of it and the tone. So let's check it out. So I want like a huge reverb for this guitar, you know? So I'm gonna choose size XL. Sort of like that. Probably bright. Maybe clean. Yeah, that sounds good. And when we press next, it's gonna analyze the sound while it's playing, and it's gonna change the pre-reverb EQ and then post EQ as well. So let's do that. And there we have it. It uses AI to sort of determine what would be like good points of frequencies to raise or lower, both pre-EQ and post-EQ. Then we press accept, and we have it here. We can also adjust it right here, pre-EQ and reverb EQ. So this is sort of the dry sound EQ, and this is the reverb. So we can see it here. You want more bright, you can do that. And of course you can adjust everything like on your normal EQ. You can see the advanced options or just the basic ones. And then you can actually move this, which I'm going to show you a little bit later. But yeah, that's our first sound. Now let's do the same for this one as well. So I want something more realistic. Sounds pretty good right there. Maybe like this. Okay, let's accept that. Without it, it's like this. And with it, it's like this. I'm gonna bring back the dry wet knob. And maybe up the level. Something like this. Okay, now let's preview the little song we made here. So yeah, that's after the reverb has been created. Really simple way to like add reverb to sounds just by sort of choosing what type of reverb you want, and then it sort of does the rest for you, which I really like. So without the reverb, it would sound like this. And with it, it's like this. So not a huge difference, but it sounds pretty nice. Now let's move on to the next tip, which is number 4. And this is using reverb to create atmosphere in your song and sort of using it to completely transform a sound in your song. So I have this piano right here with some delay, and it sounds like this in the song. But I imagine a completely different sound, so I want something like big and spacious, you know? So I'm gonna use reverb to create that effect. So I'm gonna put it in my mixer on the piano, and I'm gonna go through some of the presets and try them out. So let's actually play it. Experimental. So you have a lot of presets in here, a lot of categories as well. So that's a really nice touch. And I like this long cinematic decay one. And I'm gonna even increase the dryness, the wetness actually. And let's play it in the song right now. So yeah, as you can hear, right off the bat, a completely different vibe for the song. First we had this really dry sound that just doesn't fit to the song. But now with like this long decay one, we have this. So yeah, that's another way, another creative way you can use reverb just to sort of create this atmosphere for the sound that is completely different than it originally was. Now let me show you the last tip, tip number 5, and this is also mostly for Neoverb, where you can blend different reverb types in this. So you can sort of play around with it. So the tip is basically play around with the reverb, try to automate it maybe. So I'm gonna show you a few automations I have here. One is for the hi-hats. So it looks like this. Really simple. I actually recorded this live. You can just press record and everything, and it will record in FL Studio. Then I have this one as well. It sounds like this in the song, and right after I play this, I'm gonna try to like experiment with another type of reverb and try to record something as well. That's a little example where you can use reverb and automate it to create some nice effects. Let me actually do that right now. We can try some different presets here and then just play around with the reverb. Okay, now let's actually record it. So press record, everything, play the song. And yeah, we have that recording and we can see it right here in FL Studio. If you go in Control, right click here, you have Neoverb and all 3 of them. So you basically record them separately in FL Studio. So all the movements are recorded and you can edit them afterwards as well. And now if we actually change the preset, we still have the same recording, just a different reverb type. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this tip, and that will conclude this video. It's a lot of fun to play around with reverb. You can do a lot of little tricks and improve your songs. So hopefully you learn some new tips and you can use them in your music production. Make sure to check out Neoverb, link will be below in the description. You can actually get a free trial to try it out yourself and play around with it. And if not, you can always try to do these tricks with your FL Studio reverb as well. Anyways, thank you to iZotope for sponsoring this video, and thank you for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!